Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, madam.
Please,
Sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Akhil, do you live in Kerala or are you in Delhi?
No, sir, I live in Kerala.
You live in Delhi.
Kerala, sir.
Kerala? So how come you are in Delhi?
Sir, I came for this mock interview.
You came for this mock interview, all right. Are you doing any other mock interviews also?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
How many?
I'm doing a number of 4 interviews.
Four.
A total of 4.
Where all are you doing these mocks?
I have done one in Eden today.
Which where?
Eden IAS. It is in Karol Bagh. Eden IAS Institute. Yes. EN.
Okay.
Eden.
Eden
Yes.
IAS. Okay.
Okay.
So this is my second one.
Okay.
And tomorrow I'm doing one in KSG and another one Shankar IAS Academy.
Okay. So what was the feedback from this morning's mock?
Eden.
Eden, feedback was in terms of communication, it was fine for them. But I had to work upon certain contents, especially in terms of hobbies and all. So that they pointed out. And in terms of body language and all, they suggested some certain improvements.
Did they indicate the marks to you? How many marks they gave
Yes,
you?
sir. They gave a total of 182.5. 182.5.
182.5. Okay. All right. You mentioned reflective writing in your hobby.
Yes, sir.
What is the last reflective writing that you did?
So, one of the most significant entry that I made in reflective writing was in 2021. That was when my mains result came out for the year 2020. So, it was a setback for me because I could not clear mains that year. So, I understood that I had to write to come out of it, that I need to rationalize my failure and I need to draw lessons from it. So, in terms of that, when I undertook reflective writing at that point of time, I derived certain lessons which helped me improve a lot as a person and also as a candidate for civil service examination. So, that's my most significant entry.
And then you do guest blogging on constitutional law.
Yes, sir.
So when is the last blog that you wrote?
So, that was a couple of months before. That was especially regarding the intervention that Supreme Court has made in terms of COVID crisis and also with regard to right to health concept which was developed by the Supreme Court.
So what was the blog on COVID? What did you say?
So, firstly, I feel that when it comes to the COVID crisis, initially the Supreme Court was a bit reluctant to interfere into the executive affairs. But later on, especially during the second wave when there was an oxygen crisis which was there in the national capital, the Supreme Court actively intervened and there was a system of judicial dialogue as such. And in my opinion, I articulated that Supreme Court in fact acted as a collective conscience of the citizenry of this country and enabled the citizens to access right to information when it came to the management of COVID.
And did you see the judgment of the Supreme Court about the migrants and accepting the government's version that they are being well fed, there is no problem, nobody is dying. So, do you remember that judgment?
Yes, sir.
Who was the judge?
Yes, sir. Sir, at that point of time, it was Honorable Justice S.A. Bobde, who was the Chief Justice back then.
But whose bench was it?
Sir, as far as I recollect, it was Justice Bobde.
Not Justice Call.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
I could
Anyway,
not.
what was that judgment?
So, it was about the migrant crisis, accepting the executive's version that they have done enough. But I feel that Supreme Court at that point of time was caught lacking in terms of protecting the human rights of the citizen because Supreme Court is considered as the ultimate protector and guarantor of the fundamental rights of citizen, and they have a duty as such in order to supplement the efforts of the executive rather than just accepting the version of the executive.
What I would like to ask you is that what is mandated in the Constitution as the remit of Supreme Court, it has not always lived up to the expectations of the citizen. It started way back with emergency when there were disgraceful judgments which decades after the event they sort of admitted that they had let down the people and they said that it should not have happened at all. So you can't make amends in retrospective effect, whether it is Justice Bhagwati or it is anybody else, this problem remains. If you come to the COVID thing, and even if you come to before this, I would say that people have come out with criticism, even risking contempt of court, that the Supreme Court different benches have acted very whimsically and have double standards for allowing protection to a citizen. I'll give you the cases, Arnab Goswami or any other journalist. So Arnab Goswami was made to look harassed, but there was a midnight hearing for him, and then very high sounding phrases were made about freedom of press, etc., etc. But then subsequently when another journalist comes there, the same alacrity is not there. So that's there. Also the contradictions in conduct of former judges, like, I mean, I'm sure you have followed the Mahua Mitra's scathing attack on ex-CJI Gogoi in the Rajya Sabha, and she went on insisting that he no longer enjoys the protection of a sitting judge, so he can be mentioned in the parliament. So that continues, and she was shut down, her words were expunged, but the damage was done. So I would say that if you are a practicing lawyer?
I would like to place an important information before the panel, which I haven't mentioned in the DAF. In the month of December 2021, I was inducted into the Kerala Administrative Service, which is a state civil service which is recently constituted by the state of Kerala.
I want to ask you another question. Kerala Administrative Service, excellent, you are doing a great job. But let's continue with the law.
Yes, sir.
There are blogs or sites like Live Law, Bar and Bench, and you have people like Gautam Bhatia writing there regularly.
Yes.
And Gautam Bhatia has been quoted approvingly by the Supreme Court at times. So you have lawyers, Abhinav Chandrachud also. So there are people who have talked of Supreme Court, and there is a feeling that somebody says IAS has let down, IAS has failed. But many citizens feel that the Supreme Court has failed them. And good friend Rajiv Dhawan used to came out with a book that Supreme but not infallible.
Yes,
so this hubris which the Indian Supreme Court seems to suffer from at the moment, with all due respect to the lordships, is not very, and even on constitutional matters which deserve urgency of hearing, you can come out and put on a back burner the hijab, say for instance, a controversy, or erosion of freedom of expression, or the constitutional changes in the temporary articles about Jammu and Kashmir and so on, citizenship right and so on. So I think, the problem is that I would be a little skeptical about what you say that Supreme Court is the guardian of rights. Now that you are in civil service, now that you are not in the legal profession,
yes, sir,
you would be facing this. Even in the separation of powers, which you said about the COVID migrants, the Supreme Court's initial reluctance was is an executive domain. But when it suits them, then they can interfere into, they would say that the interference is granted to them in the Constitution itself.
yes, sir.
So I don't know whether I would agree to that kind of an interpretation about the Supreme Court, but we'll leave it at that. How many times have you appeared for this exam before?
So I have appeared for 3 times, including this one.
So I don't want to ask you about, because you said you were disappointed about not clearing the mains.
Yes, sir.
What was your score in the written examinations then?
So it was 728, wherein the cutoff to clear mains was 736 at that point of time.
And your optional has always been law.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And your hobby is guest blogging.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a little surprised at what is the guest. Why don't you blog on your own? WordPress and blogging. Why do you have to be a guest blogger?
Yes.
And when you guest blog, what blog do you go as a guest on?
Yes, there are a couple of factors for that. Firstly, it was due to the paucity of time that I opted to be a guest blogger rather than running a blog of my own, because running a blog needs a more dedication of time, which I could not spare during my civil service preparation time. That was the major factor. Secondly, the reach that certain blogs have got. So that also made me a guest blogger, because if I write on my own...
So what blog do you contribute to most?
So I used to contribute to constitutional law blogs and also websites like The Leaflet, Live Law, Bar and Bench, etc. So these are...
you have contributed to both Bar and Bench and Live
sir.
Law. Excellent. I'll pass you on to Ambassador Swaroop.
Okay, Akhil, tell me, what is the main reason for this huge pendency of court cases in our courts?
So, firstly, there are a couple of factors. That is, when it comes to the apex court and the high courts, the kind of matters that they deal with is very diverse in nature, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court. The special leave petition or the public interest litigation, these are innovations which are made by the court as such, and SLP is one that is included in the Constitution itself. which makes it an original as well as an appellate court. So there is a huge diversity of matters that they are being tasked with. Secondly, I feel that there is no effective court management system in India. And thirdly, Indian judiciary, when it comes to the trial court, lacks in terms of infrastructure. And fourthly, when it comes to the civil court system in India, there is a procedural laxity that is happening over there. And finally, there is no emphasis that is given to alternate dispute resolution system at the grassroots level. These are the factors that I find.
Also, isn't one factor that the government is the largest litigator?
Yes, sir. Surely yes.
So what can be done? What can the government do to slightly control the pendency?
So, when it comes to the government, I feel that government can certainly push for alternate dispute resolution in matters where it can be settled so. I think that should be the first remedy that the government should undertake. And I think these measures like conciliation, which are statutorily ordained, at least in terms of certain laws, that should be complied with. So that has not been the case, at least in few cases. So that the government has to prioritize.
What is your view on SLAPP litigation, SLAP suits?
I can't truly understand the connotation of that term, sir.
This is a very common term which has been brought by large companies, etc., to prevent adverse, articles written about. You have not heard of SLAPP suits?
Sorry, sir, I haven't heard of it.
Surprised that you deal with law and you have not heard of it. Okay, we'll move to something. Have you heard of a book called The World is Flat?
No, sir.
By Tom Friedman?
No, sir.
Have you heard of Thomas Friedman?
Yes, sir. If I could take a guess, he's an economist.
No.
Sorry,
so
sir.
you've not heard of Tom Friedman? That was Milton Friedman.
Okay. Yes, sir. So that's fine.
Okay, let's come closer at home. What is happening in Pakistan right now?
So at this point of time, the incumbent Prime Minister, Imran Khan, is facing a huge challenge at home in terms of proving his majority. So there was a challenge that was done by opposition parties who come in as a collective to challenge Imran Khan.
Okay. Imran Khan was, when he was first elected, was the darling of the Pakistan army. Why did he have a fallout with the Pakistan army?
So, firstly, I feel that when it comes to any civilian government that is installed in Pakistan, that is installed as a puppet government. So when it tries to breach that forte that has been set for them, I think there is a huge amount of friction that can happen. And secondly, even in terms of Afghan issue, there has been a contradiction between the stand that has been taken by the military as well as Imran Khan. So I think that would have been two factors. What is the contradiction? So I'm not very clear of it because I don't recollect it properly, but I read it as one factor. So that is what I know about it.
That's a very strange answer to give that, I'm not aware of the details, but I just read it as a factor.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. So
because what did the Pakistan army want in Afghanistan? What was their objective?
So as far as Pakistan army is concerned, Pakistan army feel that having a Taliban-run government in Afghanistan would give them a strategic depth. As far as a civilian government is concerned, civilian government will always have a security connotation and also a foreign policy paradigm that they have to cater to in terms of analyzing a situation. So I think in terms of that, there is a larger contradiction that anyway will happen between the security side of an administration as well as that administration.
I am still not clear. The army wanted strategic depth in Afghanistan. Civilian government would be happy with that. What is their problem if Afghanistan is a buffer between them and India?
But I think when it comes to civilian government, they also have larger commitments that they have in terms of other nations as well. So I think civilian government will have to play a balancing act. And also it is the case that Taliban also poses a threat to Pakistan. So that is also a fact that they will have to appreciate at some point of time. But I'm truly not aware of...
If Taliban poses a threat to Pakistan, then why did Pakistan harbor them for so many years?
Yes, sir. In terms of Pakistan, it is often said that Pakistan makes a distinction between good terrorists and bad terrorists. But in fact, it is the case that...
So was the Taliban good terrorists or bad terrorists?
Taliban...
That decision is made by Americans. Pakistanis are the ones who created the Taliban in the first place.
Yes, sir. Truly, yes, sir.
No, but are the Taliban good terrorists or bad terrorists according to Pakistan?
Pakistan construe them as good terrorists, but I think there is a section called as Tehrik-e-Taliban, which is a distinct section, which targets Pakistan because they go against fundamental Islamic values. So I think that is the case wherein even
now that the Taliban have gone against their professed beliefs that we will allow women education, we will have national reconciliation, etc. What instrumentalities and leverages does the rest of the world have to force the regime in Afghanistan to at least allow women the right to education? So what should the rest of the world do?
Yes, sir. So certainly when it comes to managing the situation in Afghanistan, we can cater to certain instruments in international law. That is, firstly, human rights. Human rights has to be applicable worldwide. Even conventions like UDHR, United Nations Declaration on Human Rights, these have attained customary status. So through certain persuasions and maybe not sanctions.
How do you persuade the Taliban?
So at this point of time, Taliban suffers from a huge threat, that is in terms of providing for food and providing for all these kinds of basic amenities for the citizens. For the sustenance of a state, that is very important. So world is the largest provider of all these goods. So I think through a strategy of persuasion, wherein when these are being provided as a conditionality, maybe this can be attached. But that is having a moral side as well, because food is a basic right. So the extent of such conditionality and the extent of such persuasion will also depend. But in fact, I feel that we have crossed the stage wherein we could make certain demands to Taliban regime, because we have crossed that stage.
Why did we cross that stage?
Sir, I feel that the world should have acted not when Taliban has succeeded in attaining all these kinds of territories in Afghanistan. We should have acted much before. Even when it comes
to... But the peace process was going on in Doha between the Taliban and the United States. So what you're saying is this should have been negotiated in that peace agreement, right?
Yes, sir. When it comes to the peace agreement itself, I think the peace agreement was not done in a democratic fashion, because there was an elected government, at least a democratically elected government in Afghanistan. That particular government was not given any respect or heed by those authorities or those nations which installed them in the first place. So I think that is where the world was.
So what was the compulsion that America had to pull out of Afghanistan?
So there were two compulsions. That is, firstly, there was a domestic compulsion. That is, even within US, there was no great support that was there for war, because it was a tax on the American exchequer. That was one thing. And even the soldiers who was fighting in a foreign land, that also posed a grave crisis for America. Secondly, US, when it came to Afghanistan, and at that point of time, did not have clear objectives, military objectives, and objectives as such that they could have attained. So I think
these clear objectives. Didn't they first come to Afghanistan to flush out Osama bin Laden and to put an end to the sanctuaries that were being provided for terrorists?
So I think when it comes to the second objective, that is sanctuaries for terrorism, I think that particular objective was not attained.
And you said they didn't have objectives. I think they had objectives.
Yes, sir. They certainly had objectives when we speak of it in that manner. But I think they also had this larger objective of asserting power, which cannot be construed as an objective as such, but
and they asserted power. The Americans were controlling everything in Afghanistan.
For 20 years, when you say elected government in Afghanistan, which is an ironical thing, and the irony dies at 100 deaths. Do you think Hamid Karzai and Ashraf Ghani were democratically elected presidents? Were they elected by the Shura? Did they have control over where the warlords were fighting ever since the Mujahideen had been thrown out? I think, that the democratic elections in Afghanistan is a bit of a joke, if you permit me to say. Anyway, let's see.
Pass on.
What is the relevance of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan? Who founded it? What can you tell us, enlighten us about Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan?
So, Madam,
it's a very well-known institute across India.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan was instituted by Kulpati Munshi in 1938 as an institute of excellence, and it had this objective of integrating Indian values into the educational system. And it has this beautiful motto which is taken from Rig Veda, Ano Batra Kritavo Yantu Vishwataha, which means let noble thoughts come to us from every side. So taking knowledge at all levels, I think that has been the objective of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan.
Kerala is a very culturally rich place. Can we, one important intangible heritage contribution of Kerala to not only India but to the world, which it has sustained for centuries? Intangible heritage.
Intangible.
It's famous for that. People come there for it.
When it comes to intangible heritage, there are a couple of art forms which are very famous. That is in terms of Mudiyettu, that is Kodiyatam, and there is also another art form called as Kathakali, which is very famous.
You call them intangible heritages. What can be more tangible than dance?
Something which is linked to life, and people actually, come there. That it's sort of a rejuvenating heritage system of ours.
Can I take some few seconds to
Have
reflect?
you heard of Kotakal?
Yes, sir, surely. Certainly, yes.
Then what are we talking about?
We are talking about Ayurveda.
That's right.
Yes, sir. But I thought that was a tradition which was there across India. But
No,
Kottakkal
but
is-
it has been maintained very well. I mean,
Yes.
that is supposed to
And
be.
the Kerala Ayurveda is a totally different stream. It is not the Siddha Marma Chikitsa of Bengal. It is not the Ayurveda of North India of Gurukul Kangli variety. It basically Shirodhara, Abhayangasam and
They're very
things like that.
traditional, and can you name some celebrities who have sort of taken advantage of that?
In Kerala, there are several celebrities like
No, somebody who's come from abroad and sort of.
I'm not aware of
You're not
any
aware.
celebrities worldwide who have taken advantage of it.
Thank you. I think I'll request the chairperson too.
Yeah. Still happening.
See, the problem is, Akhil, I have a little problem. You have been a student of law.
Yes.
When you go as a member of the bar to the court, you dress up formally. And the Supreme Court of India has taken stern views, even in the days of COVID and digital appearances, that people should not be in t-shirts, shirts, states of semi-undress. They should be formally dressed there. So if you are coming for a mock interview and you are coming with a shirt which is dark, pant which is light, shoes which don't match, and I don't know whether you are not making a mockery of it's not like a moot court. Even in moot court, you must know from a national law university,
Yes.
you have to dress up formally. In all national law universities, where I teach in a law university, law school, 5 days a week you have to come in formal attire, and one day you are given off when you have a tutorial day, when you don't come formally dressed. So there's one problem I have. The second problem is that you are generalizing too much in your responses to specific questions, whether it is law or whether it is, when the going gets tough, you say, no, I'm not a member of the bar, I'm already a member of the Kerala Administrative Service. Excellent. We hope that you make a transition from KS to IAS, but I think, why is that fact not mentioned in your DAF?
So it was specifically because of this that DAF was released in November. I was inducted in the month of December. So
But there is a DAF 2, which was the last date for filling up was 24th March.
Yeah, there is no opportunity to fill in the job details there. Job details have to be filled in DAF 1. So I thought that I will place before the panel this
Fair
information.
enough. So I will leave it to the chairman to advise you. Where is your interview?
It is on May 20th, sir.
May 20th. Lots of time.
Two things we advise everybody, and we'll do the same to you. Take out your DAF, read it carefully, very carefully, and try and anticipate as many questions which can emerge out of it. Okay, all the questions were from here today, so anticipate about 100 questions, 120, so you'll be prepared with the answers. Secondly, what newspaper do you read?
I read the Hindu.
The Hindu. Do you take notes?
Not now, sir. I used to take it.
You have to take it. And you are going to be staying in Delhi for the next 1 month?
No, sir. I will be staying in Kerala itself because
You'll
I'm
go back
undergoing
to
training
Kerala.
at this point.
So do you get, can you get the Indian Express in Kerala?
No, sir.
New Indian Express.
We get New Indian Express.
Yeah. So fair enough, the New Indian Express also is good. So add New Indian Express to your list.
Yes, sir.
And start taking notes. Start a diary from today. 5 items every day.
Yes, sir.
There may be many more actually, but 5 items minimum you should take down notes. 1 item, 1 page. And
Yes,
all the basic facts and information in the point. Keep on updating it, keep on revising it. These 2 things will do you good. Will you wear a suit that day?
Yes, sir.
You will.
Certainly I will.
Yeah, okay.
You are from Thrissur.
Yes, sir.
Better prepare about the elephant festival, better prepare about the snake boat races, better have something about Thiyam. There are a whole lot of
Yes.
things. And when the lady asked you about intangible heritage, kindly listen carefully. What is tangible heritage? what is intangible heritage.
Yes, sir.
You should not wait for a non-Malayali to tell you Aarya Vaidishala Kotkal, and
Yes,
other places.
Yes, sir.
Also, you are a Menon. There might be a question about who's the most distinguished Menon, and there's a difficult question to answer.
Yes.
There is KPS Menon, there is V.K. Krishna Menon, and a very good biography of V.K. Krishna Menon written by Jairam Ramesh is just in the market. So I think even if you don't have the time to read the whole biography, you should know there are other distinguished Malayalis like Shashi Tharoor, but there is no dearth of distinguished Menons.
Yes,
And
sir.
it could be the story about the Travancore Cochin kingdom, the royal family, Maharaja Ravi Verma, the present state of the Maharajas, and Manu Pillai has done on the ivory throne and so much recently. So I think you probably have to go out from your comfort zone a little. Thank you. But you have plenty of time. You don't have to worry.
Yes, sir.
I was surprised you have not heard of SLAP lawsuits. Strategic lawsuit against public participation.
Yes, sir.
And this has been in the news because the Wire has got several notices from
Yes, sir.
companies.
Now I recollected.
You are mentioning sites which have referred to this. Both Live Law and Bar and Bench have had this.
So I
So
was
it's
not.
saying for someone who has done constitutional law, etc., to be unaware of SLAP lawsuits, which has
Yes,
become
sir.
a big menace actually, because a lot of
Yes.
public big corporations bring it to burden the complainants with a very expensive lawsuit
Yes, sir.
to prevent them really from engaging with it.
Articulating their views.
Yeah, and then not having heard of Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat. I mean, it was a global bestseller. And
Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Good. Good luck to you.
Thank
All
you.
the best.